Kristine, remember when you were a kid and you thought that your career was going to be this like perfect straight line trajectory?
Oh my, yes. That is not at all what happened. It ended up being way more of a squiggle than I could have ever imagined. And I am so happy that I embraced all of the squiggles along the way.
Welcome back, everyone, to Embrace the Squiggle. I'm excited to be here today with our guest, Nicole Nell. We are Colleen
and Kristine,
and this is episode 103, which is so exciting. So today we're really excited to have Nicole Nell on with us. So many of you might have heard of her because she is known as DJ Nikki Nell, and she is a force to be reckoned with, right? Both in the entertainment industry and as an entrepreneur. Over the years, she has become one of the country's most premier sought-after professional female disc jockeys. And when she's not behind the mic commanding that dance floor, you'll find her equally confident running her award-winning multi-operation production company, Visual Sound Productions. VSP consists of 4 expert divisions: weddings, multimedia, AV production, and talent representation across the country. I'm excited to jump in with Nicole today. And she is the second person recently that we've had on who spent her early years as a dancer. So excited to jump in and hear about your story and how you got to where you are. So welcome, Nicole.
Thank you so much for having me. Love the little intro. Sounded so cool for a sec.
I know, right? Like, it's always nice to hear how great we are.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, right.
Okay,
That's
so
awesome.
let's go back to little Nicole, right? What did little Nicole think she was going to be?
Well, she's had one thing on her mind, and that was dance. So it's always been my first love. And I kind of got into it because my cousin owns a dance studio and we have a very large family. And it almost became like one of those things where, like, if you're in the family, everybody's it's like mandatory to take at least one dance class, right? Every cousin, male, female, everybody took at least one dance class, right? So, I started when I was 3 years old, and then I just became hooked. It just became a part of me. And I knew I wanted to be a professional dancer and choreographer. And I trained my whole life to get there.
Nice. And so did you actually go to college to study dance, or did you just jump right into the professional world from kind of dance studio to professional?
So I started to make the leap when I was on the United States dance team. And I started traveling and training with.
Okay, wait. I like how you just dropped like, oh, and I was on the United States dance team. Like, I love when people drop things that are like big and giant, but they're just like, oh, I just went to the moon one day. It was no big deal. Okay, so United States dance team. That's huge. So how old were you when you did that? I'm not familiar with the United States dance team. But
yeah, so I was 18. So it's pretty much like the Olympics of dance, which is crazy to me that dance is not actually in the Olympics. It's not considered a sport. They just recently added in break dancing,
right?
Which is a start, right?
And I always think like rhythmic gymnastics is like somewhere in between.
Yeah, it's close. It's close, but nothing when it comes to like, like
ballroom and jazz
and dancing and ball. Exactly. And ballet. I mean, it's one of the hardest forms of
sport.
One of the hardest sports. Yeah,
100%.
So it was amazing. We ended up going through me and a few other dancers from Dazzle Studio of Dances, the studio that I grew up dancing with. We went through so many rounds. We ended up chose to be on the United States dance team, and we went to Germany to compete in the World Championships. We placed 6th in the world, so I'm very, very proud to say that.
Amazing.
Yes, and my cousin won the gold medal for the females, so that was amazing. Yeah, it was really amazing experience, and that just like totally inspired me even more. My grandfather used to live in New York City. And every weekend or every summer, I would literally be on the train all the time to go there. And I would take the subway to Broadway Dance Center, where I would continue my training, even outside of Western Mass, and to really get my name out there in New York as well.
Nice. So then did you work as a professional dancer for a while? Like, what was that like?
Well, this is where the left turn happens.
This is where it starts to
right?
get
And
squiggly, right?
Yeah. This is the biggest squiggle ever, right? So it's like I was at that. It was a straight line going straight up. Like I had everything planned. I was doing everything imaginable, right? And then of course when I'm around, I think I was around 21 or so. I ended up falling extremely ill, like
Mm.
super ill. I was in and out of the hospital for 5 months, had no idea what was wrong with me. And thank God I ended up getting a diagnosis. I ended up getting chronic Lyme disease, and it just
Ugh.
completely shut down my whole nervous system, my digestive system, everything. So my career came to a giant halt. It took me a very long time to recover. It took me about 5 years to really get back to where I was like, okay, I feel like a normal human being again. And I was out of work for about a year. So that kind of was a bit of a slap in the face. That was very, very hard for me to kind of come to the realization that maybe everything that I worked hard for might not come to reality, right? Especially with dancing career, you only have a short amount of time that you could actually, be a professional dancer. There's a time limit on it. So I got to dig deep, super deep, and I'm like, okay, like what was it about dancing that you loved so much? And I think what it really came down to was the music, right? It's just that universal language. It's just that it was therapeutic to me. So I'm like, okay, so if I can't manipulate the music with my body, let's manipulate the music with my hands with DJing, right? So my students, so I was a choreographer too, when I was still dancing and teaching. So I would always, unbeknownst, not even realizing it, like my students loved the music that I was always playing during the warm-ups, and then I would actually make our mixes, for our routines. Again, not even knowing or thinking of it in that light.
Right.
And I would have a lot of my students just say, Miss Nicole, we love the music. Can you play some music for our birthday parties? Can you play some music for our fundraisers when we do all these big competitions? And they had my heart. So I would do anything for them. But this was just me showing up with a laptop and an iTunes playlist and some computer speakers. Okay. There was nothing to it. But it was one of those things where everybody was always reacting. And I was used to being on the mic because I'm used to being on the stage in front of everybody. Like I was used to making announcements and, catching people's attention. So it became very natural. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just do something with it, right? So I just completely was like, I'm just gonna go all in because I knew I cannot see myself like working for somebody else. Like I've never like really had like a big girl job. Like I've always been my own. I was been my own boss. Even when you're a choreographer and a dancer, you work for yourself and studios, subcontract you out.
Right.
So I was like, nah, this is something I'm just going to go for it. And I ended up buying some equipment while I was recovering and literally just taught myself how to DJ while I was in my bed.
Amazing.
Yeah. And that's how it kind of got started, literally. And then it just started to just slowly progress from there. And it's funny because now I don't see myself ever doing anything else. So it's interesting how something so bad turned into something so beautiful.
Well, it always does.
It does.
It really, like, when you reflect back, it really does. Okay, so here, I'm curious, in terms of the squiggle, how the skills that you gained and strengthened in dance, how do they translate or transfer over into DJing?
It is so parallel, way more than people think, right? So in order to be like technically a very strong DJ, you need to understand the composition of music, right? So with us being dancers, we need to understand how to count music. We need to understand the different measures. And I already had that in me. So being able to hear the music and also being able to hear even the tone and the pitch and understanding that certain tones give you certain feelings that you want to feel. So being able to interpret that as a dancer versus as a DJ, it's very, very parallel. And as I spoke on before, when you're a DJ, you're not just playing the music, but you have to be the entertainment. You have to get on the microphone. You have to demand people's attention. So a lot of the time, that's the hardest part for DJs, is that they're great behind the decks, but getting them on the microphone, forget about it. And in order to really stand out, you need to be able to master both of them, especially in the private event industry. I mostly do weddings right now, and there's a lot of emceeing involved and, really, really running the whole show. So I'm so used to being on stage and like performing in front of everybody that I'm like, nothing. It was like second nature to me. So I actually feel like I had an advantage of transitioning when it came to the careers.
And where did you find the courage to really take a step back and reflect and be really thoughtful about this transition? Because I find that a lot of people, that's where the fear paralyzes people, is that they're almost afraid to take a step back and say, okay, like this, what I'm experiencing right now is not great. It's not good. Obviously in your case, your health was compromised. How do I find the gift in this? And so, what would you share in terms of finding that courage to look at what are the gifts and what can I do with these gifts?
It's hard to see the light when you're in such a dark place. And for the longest time, it was very hard for me I was always one of those people where if something bad happens to me, I could always get past it, or I could always find a way out of it. But something like your health, and then not knowing what really wrong with me for 5 months was something that was probably the hardest thing. And I actually had to rely on other people. And that was probably the hardest thing, because I'm one of those people where I'll just do it myself. Like I can handle anything myself, but now this is something that I could not handle myself. So that was like super tough for me, but it just came to the point where I was like, okay, this is my new reality. I could sit down and be depressed and feel sorry for myself, or I can really change my mindset and start being more positive about the situation. And I felt like when I started to change my mindset, my body started to react too. Mind you, it was a slow process, but I would make myself get up and do certain things. And even if I wasn't feeling too good, I made sure not to over push myself. But every day I made sure that I did something that had to do with this new business idea. So I think it's one of those things where it's like, sometimes you get yourself push up against the wall and you really don't have you don't have another choice. Life's going to keep going. So I think it's one of those things where it was just changing my perspective, and you don't think of it as a blessing until much later. Hindsight is a bitch, man. It really is. But yeah, I think it's just one of the things. Life's going to keep going, and you got to keep going with it. And it's all about just adapting and changing. And like I said, it ended up being such a blessing.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that piece.
Absolutely.
There's there's a lot of I don't know, just magic in what you said in terms of just the curiosity and just leaning in. And what I heard in there too is you embrace the things that you could control, because you can control your mindset.
You can. And don't worry about the things you can't control.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. It's always easier said than done. Right.
Oh, 100%.
So much.
100%.
And particularly going
through to have those thoughts, but you got to check yourself real quick, right?
Yeah.
It's okay to have those thoughts, then bring it back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And especially with something like Lyme disease, which, I know a number of folks who have had it and who have been suffering with it for a long time because they don't know enough about it. There's not enough research into it. There's no instant cure, right? It's not like, here, take this antibiotic and you'll be cured. There's
the most misdiagnosed disease because everybody experiences different symptoms because it attacks different parts of your body, and they are still working on certain testing to get it right. And I actually ended up seeing a naturopathic doctor, and she's the one that ended up teaming up with my infectious disease doctor and ended up she's the one that diagnosed me. So
I've heard that over and over again, right? Because around here in the western part of Massachusetts, right in the Northeast, like Lyme disease is very prevalent. Like there is a lot of it. And almost everyone I know has been diagnosed and treated best from a naturopathic doctor.
She literally saved my life. And also just being exposed to that other side of medicine, it just made me a healthier and better person and just more appreciative of the earth. I know it sounds so silly, but we take for granted that we have everything that we need right here, and we just look past it all the time.
So, Nicole, with your business now, right, you have all of this stuff happening. You have multiple different streams to your business. And being an entrepreneur isn't the easiest thing for many people. So, where have you found, right, your support for being an entrepreneur? Like, what are the pieces that kind of helped you figure out kind of how to do this?
So I started with just being a solo op DJ, and then I slowly started to add in different elements. So like lighting, and then photo booth came onto like a big trend. And so I was really known for kind of like the one-stop shop for the entertainment side of things. And it was funny. I remember DJing, I think it was like a Jack and Jill, something super low key. And I ended up seeing somebody who I went to high school with. She's like, hey, I'm a videographer. I think that would be awesome if like you start offering videography services, right? And this is like a drunk conversation. So usually those go nowhere. Okay.
Right.
So I'm
or they go
this is the 1%
somewhere.
that actually, she actually followed up on it. And it was such a new thing because like at that time in the wedding industry, the biggest you had or must needed more so are the DJ and the photographer. Videography wasn't really so a must have, but more so a nice to have. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just start getting our feet into it. And we slowly started to offering it to some of our clients just for free, just so we can get some content. And she didn't know how to fly the drone. I taught myself how to fly the drone during cocktail hour. I put on an auto playlist. I'd run outside, fly the drone, get some cool shots because that's when the drones were really cool. And, she was taking the video and I had my cousin help with the assisting. So we just totally just made it happen and it ended up taking off. So that was like our way to kind of break into like the media side of it. And everything was going amazing. And then COVID happened, right? And then guess what? My job is now illegal. Literally in Massachusetts, we could not, it was illegal for people to dance, like literally. So wild.
So how did you pivot and survive during COVID?
Yeah. So COVID, I got very creative. Everybody was like, oh, you should go into like the online events and this and that. And like wherever everybody's going, I usually like to go the opposite.
Oh, I like your style.
Yeah. Take a left, right?
Really
Take a left.
I like your style. I needed to hear that for a Monday morning. Tell us more.
Yeah, it's one of those things. So I'm like, okay, I see everybody doing this. We're going to go this way. So there was just almost like an epiphany hit me. So I did end up doing a few live streams because people were asking for some type of entertainment, right? So I'm like, you know what? I had a big following at the time. So I was like, I'm going to go online, do a few live DJ sets, interact with some people. And as I was doing it, like I found myself, I was literally in my garage, right? With one of my, he was one of my employees, like a part-time employee at the time, Aiden. And I'm like telling everybody to put their hands up to stuff. And I'm like in the garage and like my cats are looking at me like, why is this bitch still here? Right. And I'm just like, this is just not, I did not feel that human connection. I was not, I actually did not feel the passion for it. Right. So I'm like, okay, this is definitely not it. So I was looking around because in my garage at the time, that's where we had all our equipment. And I was like, okay, I have all these assets. What can I do to make some money off of these? Like, what do we got going on? Right. So only thing that I can think of is I'm like, okay, we have all this photography, videography equipment. Right now, people can't come to other people's businesses. So how do we keep them relevant? So we started offering services for more corporate clients rather than event clients and weddings and be like, hey, especially realtors. Hey, we know people can't come, through for a walkthrough of these new properties that you're trying to sell. Let us come in and start doing videos of them and pictures of them so they can kind of pretend they're coming into the space, right? that completely took off. We started teaming up with other companies, and we were like, okay, let's do like a video on how you're making, certain precautions to keep everybody safe if they come to your building, or whatever the case is, whatever they wanted their message to be. We started creating that, and we started doing commercials for people because everybody was online. So we were getting high quality content for them to still promote their business and still, maintain their integrity. And we did a lot of funerals, man. Let me tell you, we did some weird shit during COVID.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was horrible. Think about it. People
Right.
literally couldn't leave their house, or,
Yeah.
we had a live stream so that it was a really weird time, but there was a market for it. And once everything opened back up, we built such a rep and with everybody that they wanted to continue those services. And that's when the multimedia division was born. So random. Everything that's happened in my life has just been random, but you just make
Love
the best of
that.
it.
Well, and here's the thing. I think everybody thinks that's the case, right? They think, oh, everybody else's line is a straight line, but me, no, like mine was random and crazy and squiggly and all this stuff. But after, time and time again, every time Kristine and I talk to any human, right? If I'm sitting next to them on a plane, if it's on a podcast, or, right, I'm just running into them at a conference, it's the rarity is actually that straight line, right? That's the rare.
Coming that way.
Oh,
right? And
I
I
don't even
think,
think straight lines don't even exist in nature. There's no way they're going to exist in our lives. There's
Right.
No way.
And I feel like, I just had a moment as I was listening to you, Colleen. I feel like our podcast and our platform is actually really elevating that message. And I hope, there's listeners out there that are taking a step back and actually realizing how connected, how squiggly, how, oh, wow, look what I'm doing now. And there were so many moments. I've actually had this just recently where there's actually been moments or events that have been foreshadowing to where I am today. Like even in color. And, I have a jacket that's green, and now I've got a passion project that our key color is mint green. Before the passion project actually came alive, I had acquired all these shades of green. And so, taking that step back, like we really are not living linear lives. I mean, COVID wasn't linear, and there's a million other things. And I saw something posted, and this is kind of, is it relevant, irrelevant to our conversation? But I saw something posted on Instagram. And it had to do with, right now we're in an AI boom. And what happened to the .com? It collapsed. And they were predicting a collapse in AI. And I was like, I could get on board with that prediction. I really could, based on my 51 years on planet Earth. I actually could get on board with this prediction. And what will happen if that happens, when it happens?
yeah, it's when it happens, right?
We will all squiggle again.
Yeah. And I think some of it, so often when people call me, right, if they're calling about career change, and they will say, I bet on the odd duck, right? They're like, I'm the odd duck. I'm 40 and I don't know what I want to do next.
Oh.
And over and over again, I keep
No.
telling people, no, right? Looking back, we can all see that invisible string that ties these things together in a neat little bow, right? Because looking back, you can do that. But when you're in the moment, it all feels like, you're on some sort of crazy roller coaster and you're not quite sure if you're going up or down at the moment.
And it's
100%.
healthy. It's healthy to evaluate, reevaluate, reflect. I'm all about reflection. And it's so healthy. It's so healthy to say yes to new things. It's healthy to say no, or this has run its course and it's time to bring this to a close. That's what 2025 has been for me. I'm just shutting shit down, like left, right, and center. Like right now, I got 3 things: podcast, coaching, and a passion project. And everything else, I'm like, see ya. We're done.
You're taking
And it-
control.
And it is just like, it's so refreshing to say, like, this was awesome and it served a purpose. And now I'm going to squiggle in a different direction.
All right. So, Nicole, we have to add one more thing here because as I was rereading your bio right now, I also realized you added another completely different business to your portfolio.
Love it. Diversification.
So,
I
this
did,
isn't even diversification. This is another full out squiggle.
I didn't do my homework today. I'll admit I didn't do I love just showing up and squiggling with the conversation.
All right. So tell us what you're still running. So you're running your DJ, your sound, right? Your visual sound production company. But you've also added another title.
I have. So I just started a real estate holding company called Nell Investments, and I purchased my first commercial property. So for the longest time, we were running visual sound productions out of my home. So I converted half of my house into offices, and my whole garage was full of equipment. I had a shed built in the back. That was the biggest one that I can get a permit for. Equipment
Amazing.
there. We had 2 storage units full of equipment. So if you could imagine the logistics every day dealing with something like that, it was a lot. But I told my employees, I'm like, listen, I know this is crazy, but this is totally going to be worth it because I want to buy us a building where we can make it our own. I never wanted to rent. I don't like it when other people tell me what to do or somebody has control over me, or especially my business, right? Because I saw so many of my other colleagues get into some type of rent situation, and then they're going up the rent like crazy, like every year, and breaking all the I don't want to deal with it. I want to make sure that I have peace of mind, but it was going to take time to get there. And I fell in love with this one standalone commercial building, but the problem is that it was a complete piece of shit. Literally falling apart. It was abandoned for 8 years. It's an over 100-year-old building. It was somebody who was taking care of the space ended up being a giant hoarder and literally hoarded all of their things in this, 5,000 square foot commercial space. So it was a disaster. Like, there was no electricity, there was no plumbing, there was nothing. So I'm like, you know what? I watched enough HGTV to kind of take this on.
I can do this, right? I can do this.
I can do this.
Hold my hammer, right?
Yeah. So I'm like, you know what? I just had a feeling. I cannot explain to you what it was. I don't know anything about real estate. I've never done it before. I only looked at a few other properties, and even my real estate agent was like, hey, we should look, you shouldn't be so fixated on, the first property that you saw. And I get that. She's advising me properly. But there was just something about it where I just knew. And I really knew that, you ever have like a moment of clarity?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Intuition.
Oh, my God. Like, there was a sign that literally smacked me in the face. And I'll give you just a sweet little background story. So when I purchased my house in 2019, it was my very first house. And there ended up being a hidden, storage space that was underneath the stairs that actually I didn't even know about, right? Until I actually moved into the building or moved into the house. And there was nothing else in there but like a face of Jesus, right? So I was like, okay, kind of creepy, kind of cool. Don't know where this is going to go, but I'm going to keep it. Like, I felt, I was like shocked, but it was actually it was kind of cool. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is God telling me where you need to be, right? And I feel faith has had a lot to do with my mindset too, right?
Amazing.
So the property, the commercial building, I never even saw the floor because there was so much junk inside of it. So it wasn't until the day before closing that when they got rid of everything, you saw some of the pictures, you wouldn't even believe it. And they got rid of everything. It was my first time seeing the floor, and there was literally from head to toe of junk. The day I walked in, first time seeing the floor, first time really seeing the space. And I shit you not, there's only one picture left on the wall, and it was a picture of Jesus on the wall. One picture
Wow.
left. So I was like, okay, God is literally telling me you are exactly where you need to be at this time, this place. And it just, and I still have both of those pictures because I'm like, what are,
What are the
I don't know what the
chances,
chances
right?
are of that.
That's wild.
It was wild. Like it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. But that's when I knew that this is definitely where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. That's the thing though. When you're present and you're aware and you're paying attention, like the signs are there.
They are. They
The
are. And
signs
if
are
you're
so
open,
there.
you got to be open.
And you gotta
to
be
it.
open.
Right.
You gotta be super open.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
No, you definitely
And I
do. So-
love that you didn't put those photos there. See, universe. See?
It was the universe. It
The
was
universe.
so wild.
Be talking to you. That's amazing.
And renovating that building, it took me 2 years to renovate it, and it finally got done. So we're officially moved in, operating out of it. So it feels amazing. It feels really, really.
You're
really
all
good.
grown up.
I know, all grown up.
That's
I did it,
big.
Mom.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Like
so-
that's big because, and often as an entrepreneur, owning property is such a big step and puts your business at a different level, right? Now you have
100%.
the collateral if you need anything, right? You decide you need to go buy, I don't know, like more cameras, more DJ equipment, right? You have the collateral that you can put up against it in a way where, we know, at least here in America, like women get very little of the funding for entrepreneurship. Like, the VC funding that goes out there. I think the latest stats we had moved up to like 30%, which was, was looked at as a really positive. Like, look at that. We've moved up to 30%, but women get so little of the funding out there. And
even small businesses in general, like I didn't get $1 to even come in and renovate this abandoned building right in the heart of downtown. I'm literally right across the street from MGM. And I didn't get a penny, but that was definitely not going to stop me from doing it. If there's a will, there's a way. And I just figured it out.
What do you mean you didn't get a penny?
Yeah. So, people, because it was an older building, so I was hoping to maybe have it be on like, one of the historic, like be considered a historical building, so you can get some grant money, or even just, renovating an old building in the city. Sometimes there are some incentives to do so, or even some type of grant. There was nothing that I talked to everybody. There was nothing that they had, which is super discouraging, especially for small businesses when they want to try to do something for themselves,
Right.
So I am now, because I made like a kind of like a little bit, I started ruffling some feathers saying, you want to, because the city is kind of going through like a weird phase right now, Springfield. So it's like it's starting to come up, but it's like you want people to come down here, but you don't want to have any
to invest in it, right?
To invest in it. You have all these old abandoned buildings and you don't want to help anybody out or bring some light to it or anything. It's like you're not doing anything to bring people here. How do you expect it to, be back on the come up? So I started to ruffle a lot of feathers, and I feel like people, they're going to start. I started talking to a few state reps, and I brought it to the mayor's, attention and things like that. So, yeah, they're going to start. They claim they're going to start, doing some things for some small businesses. So hope they do.
Love that. Love that you're advocating for the people who are coming after you, right? Lifting up others.
Yeah,
We got to. I'm all about collaboration and not competition. We're in this together. Like, it's really what it's got to be. And sometimes people get afraid to speak their opinions, and I'm not.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it takes a lot of courage. It really does. It takes a lot of courage to speak your thoughts. I mean, opinions can be taken in multiple different ways, but it's just a thought or a different perspective, or, like using Colleen's words, it's, lifting other people up and paving the pathway for others coming from behind us. And not enough people are doing that.
No, a lot of gatekeepers. I actually wish that I had a mentor, especially now that like I feel like I'm a big girl business now, right?
Yeah.
Like I wish that I had somebody that was going to kind of guide me and kind of tell me the ropes, because I actually did go to college for business. Just to go, though. I just wanted to go to college just to say that I had a college degree. It was just one of those things that I wanted to do for myself. And I was like, what's the most general thing I could do? And I was like, okay, business, right? But I will tell you right now, the thing that I learned in college for business apply to real life entrepreneurship. Like not even like anything, even down to like the accounting. It's like, I don't know. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. We're getting to time. So just as we move into our fun, rapid question, I've realized in my life that a lot of it has felt like I've had a machete and I'm just hacking through the unknown and figuring it out. Like Gen X's have done a lot of that. And I think those of us that have kind of had that machete in life and been whacking down the bushes and the weeds and trying to figure things out. No, that didn't work. No, this works and whatever. It's about us sharing that message and sharing the wisdom so that, to your point, those that are coming behind us have information, have knowledge transfer, and have maybe us as mentors that, that they can tap into in terms of whatever it is that they're trying to, elevate or chase after or whatever it is. And so, that's what it's all about is sharing our life experiences. And
that's why I love this platform that you two created. I love it. I think it's great. And now with the accessibility of the internet, there's so much more resources that the next generation has.
Yes.
So I'd really like to see them do something with it. Like when I taught myself how to DJ, I was literally reading the manual. Like this was even before like YouTube University, like I was just figuring it out.
Well, and oh my gosh, I could totally share a story, but we'll close it here because I'm watching the time. But it is so true. The resources out there that these generations have versus what we have.
In that same vein, though, I think it's also overwhelming for folks, right? There's so many resources.
Very overwhelming.
Right. It sometimes it's hard to get there. All right, let's jump into our rapid fire questions here. So these are these are a little more fun, hopefully for you. Or not that the rest hasn't been fun, but these are some quick little fun ones.
I know we all say that, and it's like the last 37 minutes have been tons of fun.
Yes. Okay. Here we go. Ready? Our first one. Heels or sneakers?
Sneakers.
Same.
All day. Yeah.
All right. What are you bringing to the potluck?
Man, something that my girlfriend made because I am not the one to cook.
There you go. Right?
Yep.
Right.
You know your place.
Yep.
I do. I told
you know your lane.
You have to outsource things, right? You have to outsource things. You can't do it all. As an entrepreneur. Yep. Right. As a woman, like everything. Can't do it all. All right.
Yep.
So as a DJ, usually we ask this question and people really struggle with it, but I feel like you'll have an answer. What's your go-to pump-up song? What's the let's get going?
Oh, like the jam. So it really does kind of depend on the crowd, to be honest with you.
Or for you personally, like what gets you? You're
me?
like, I need to get going. What am I throwing on?
My jam? What's so funny is that like when I'm by I like to sit in silence 24/7 because all I'm doing is playing music all the time. But 50 Cent is my favorite artist personally. So anything by 50. He's got this song called If I Can't. And it's just a great song that's like, if I can't do it, it can't be done. And I just love that. So I'd probably have to say that.
Excellent. Love that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. If you could swap jobs with anyone for a day, just a day, what would you do? What would you be for one day?
I would love to be an archaeologist. Hands down.
Oh, that's cool.
That I am so intrigued by like our history, like, pre-civilization. I'm so curious where we got to where we are, because it's pretty wild that there's a lot that we don't know.
So much.
Yeah.
All right. And do you have a book recommendation for our listeners or a podcast that you love listening to?
So I in regards to like entrepreneurship, I actually don't. I like Mel Robbins, obviously.
Yeah.
Like she's just the best.
She's nailing it.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
most people,
she's
it's not
nailing it.
necessarily entrepreneurship. People definitely are like, here's the Harry Potter book that I read last week and I love it. So it can be anything.
Yeah, I just bought the oldest translation of the Dead Sea Scrolls. So
Ooh.
I'm very curious about the Bible and the history and how it's almost kind of like a history book,
Right.
in a sense. So I'm gonna start reading that. So that's
Nice.
a personal thing that I'm doing.
That's deep. I love it. All right. So thanks, Nicole, for being our guest today. So if our listeners want to find you, right, they want to hire you as a DJ or look into any of your other businesses, like where can they find you? How can they connect with you?
Yeah, everything's at DJ Nikki Nell. It's spelled NICKINELL. Feel free to check out all my mixes on Mixcloud. I got everything from my performances in Vegas to, Pitbull's Globalization, his radio station on Sirius XM, and a little bit of everything in between. And then my company is at Visual Sound Prod, PROD, on all platforms as well.
I love it.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. So listeners, if today's conversation has sparked something for you, an idea, a question, I don't know, you're ready to go jump in and try something new, we'd love to hear about it. We're also looking for our guests for 2026 right now. So if you know someone who you think should be a guest, send them our way. You can drop us a message on Instagram, on LinkedIn, or TikTok, because that's what we're all about, right? We are showing up here for the messy, nonlinear parts of our careers and lives and figuring it all out together. Thanks, Nicole.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks
so
so much.
much.
Great conversation.
Yeah, feeling was definitely neutral. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
Is it time for you to add a little squiggle to your career? Join us every week to hear from another guest talk about how they embrace the squiggle.
Subscribe now and find your inspiration.